first of all, thanks a lot, Pranav, for the amazing session at the Polygon Hackers. We loved it. I'm sure all the fellows enjoyed it as well. That was the most cheering I ever heard all day. So yeah, first of all, I just wanted to start off with, how did you get into coding, and then how did you get into the Web3 space?
So, fortunately for me, for Web3, I first of all discovered, the use cases of Ethereum and building on Ethereum, and then I came to know it also as a token. So for me, Ethereum was a tool to build, decentralized protocols, and then it was something which also had a token and all had an intrinsic value. So basically, all credits to DevFolio, and I also added it in my, added that in my talk, that I was a developer from, I would say tier 1, tier 2 kind of college, trying to do something which everybody does not, which is competitive coding, full stack web development, maybe machine learning a little bit. Really wanted to venture out into something, to do something different, different. I need to do something different. You read these kind of books, different, right? And all I eventually went into is maybe I need to try something in the blockchain space, because it's like innovating the voting culture. That time you all you know is voting dApps, right? So that's how I got started, right? And then I saw DevFolio doing a hackathon, ETH India 1.0. It's like 5,000 rupees for anybody who comes in and goes. I was like, shit, this is a cash grab. I need to take this up. They are giving money for writing code and food, 3 days free food. I was like, I need to take this up, right? So I came into the hackathon knowing nothing about Ethereum and stuff like that. And I used to attend hackathons before that, but the electrifying culture that Ethereum had and the protocols that were participating in that ETH India hackathon really made me think that this is bigger than lives of people, and I can afford to dedicate myself to seeing how that works. So that's how I got started. Then I did some service-based smart contract work, and eventually I joined Polygon, as a as a solutions developer, and eventually graduated as a solutions lead. And I was joined there because as a Matic network team, right? And at that time it was growing, developing, understanding, scaling Ethereum, and eventually it turned out to be so massive. So I'm just happy that I somehow eventually the dots connected, as Steve Jobs says, you can only connect them looking backwards. Starting with hackathon, doing some smart contract work, then joining Polygon, which actually made me understand real Web3, and then the graph with decentralized engineering and governance. So,
Awesome. So can you explain a little bit, what do you do at Graph? What does Graph do? What does Graph's vision look like?
Correct. So the Graph, I'm an engineer at the Graph, you can say, a solutions engineer working on the Graph network, basically migrating subgraphs from the hosted service to the network. But for the people who it's like, if explain me like I'm 5, I would say that the Graph does to Web3 what Google does to Web2. Google actually indexes all the Web2 data so that you can search it, right? While there is data in blockchains as well, it's very distributed. One block in the blockchain has 10 different protocol data. If a protocol just wants its data, either it has to tag every block, or they can use the graph to just get that information, right? And that's what we're doing, and we are decentralizing that particular part. So it's a part of the Web3 stack, right? If you want to build Web3, you have to build it on the Web3 stack. If there are single points of failure, then you're running servers on Ethereum, unfortunately. So it's like a Web3 stack infra project, so that dApps that are built in the future are totally decentralized, at least on the indexing end with the graph.
Awesome. Also, what do you think of initiatives like Polygon Hacker House, Fellowship, right? And other things like how do you think that can help more developers get in?
This is a really interesting question. I believe if a technology is new, it does not just requires evangelism, but also the correct roadmaps. Right now there exists 100 kind of influencers, basically because of crypto and the price speculations, which make people think that price is all crypto is, and there is no value that it has. It's just a thing to play around, make some money. If you make more, get a yacht in Dubai. If you don't, then just get underground and stuff like that. But that's not the case, right? You really need to understand that what's Web3, what's blockchain, a security first technology, and approach it like a technology oriented standards to make that work. And I believe these kind of initiatives by the OGs in the whole space like Polygon are much needed, and we need to increase that. We need more education to make the real Web3 understood to the people, because eventually if people think that Web3 is more than just crypto, it's trying to solve the problems that exist in Web2, which I also explained in my talk, then only we can really believe in emerging tech and making the next what we can call as revolution in the internet space.
Awesome. Perfect. So, another question that just came out on top of my head was what advice would you give to these developers who are just starting out, just like you were when you kind of just started working at Matic, right?
It's I would say, so first of all, and the most important thing, I think I'm not as as OG of a person to give any advice, but if I was starting today, what I would have done basically is not be overwhelmed, but lots of things that come in Web3. If you join Web3, if you just type Web3, DeFi, NFT, protocols, infrastructure, Ethereum, Solana, I don't know, 100 different things that come in, and people get overwhelmed and they're like, no, this space might not be for me, right? First of all, don't get overwhelmed, it's okay. You can just choose a niche, learn about that particular stack, right? Understand the values of Web3, the whys of Web3, and start working on it, taking it off as not a cash grab or a crypto orientation thing, but rather as a technology first approach, right? And how that can happen is through learning from the right sources. And by that, I mean maybe understand Ethereum, the yellow papers, Bitcoin white papers. They are I would say the holy Bible of Web3. Understand, and instead if you go to if you type Ethereum on YouTube, all you'll find is ETH token and some people making some kind of these clickbait stuff. So basically the right kind of information from right kind of places, I would suggest documentation, right? So get that, get started, and believe me, you will not just have fun, but will also create impact and have ownership in making the next web happen.
Got it. So because we've been talking a lot about what do you love about the Web3 community, right?
I would say it's very transparent and welcoming, right? For example, if I want to be a senior software engineer in the current world, 20 years of experience, right? And it's like shit. And there is a lot of hierarchy that exists. 20 years of experience, somebody who has stopped getting in touch with the coding people, and is just trying to rant around, and then that's when consulting starts. Right? We are consultants because the person who's on top is not in direct contact with what's reality. In Web3, since it is new right now and still growing, as I told you, the most important part is you can create impact and the community understands that. And secondly, the devs, first of all, there is no much hierarchy. It's like you contribute to the code, I contribute to the code, we together make ecosystem happen. That's the first, the community orientation of Ethereum and the Web3 world, right? The second most important thing is authoritarianism, right? Eventually, Apple wants to acquire the whole market. They would, if I today want to transfer my applications from Polygon, from an Android phone to a WhatsApp, via WhatsApp to an iPhone, I cannot do that. That's the level of interoperability these people have, right? The Web2 is very much here to take everything up. Authoritarianism, single point, for the whole service. Why in Web3? It's rather that, Ethereum's philosophy. In the world which wants to have a single power, we want to matter less. That kind of philosophy of decentralizing, distributing power is what, for me, matters the most. And the third and the most important thing is pro bono stuff. If you can fund public good, you are creating a better world. And that's something which only Web3 is enabling.
True. Awesome. I think that's it. Right? Awesome. Thanks
thank
a lot,
you.
Pranav.
Thanks
for your time.
Yeah.